as we have discussed, that academic plagiarism occurs when writers of a piece of information copy substantial part of other work without attribution. Well, plagiarism is manifested in different formats. In order to adopt best practices in academic writing and scholarship, various universities has provided outlines of certain acts to avoid plagiarism and maintain uniformity in writing assignments and uphold intellectual honesty. The most common form of plagiarism found in academic writings are direct plagiarism, word switch plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, self plagiarism, paraphrasing and incorrect citation. Well, we are going to discuss about these types. Direct plagiarism. Most common form of plagiarism in scholarly writing is direct copying, in which plagiarizer exactly incorporate the exact text word to word from another's publication available in print or in online format into their own assignment or writing without citing the original author. Well, this causes a huge problem in writing and they consider under the category of direct plagiarism. Word switch plagiarism is another way of copying another's text. In this form of plagiarism, few words from sentence or text of others' writing are interchanged with new synonyms and the rest of the piece of writing are copied exactly without attribution. So they are called word switch plagiarism, where few words are switched and the rest of the text remains the same. Another form of plagiarism found in academic writing is patchwork plagiarism or mosaic plagiarism. Well, this is the most common form of plagiarism found in the writing of students. It mainly constitutes through patch writing. The main reasons for the occurrence is using phrases from the text without quotation mark. Subsequently, substituting few words with synonym words, making the rest of the text unchanged without citation to the source of the text. Well, another form of plagiarism which is very much found in the academic writing is self-plagiarism, and very few researchers know about this. Yes, viewers, there is a word called self-plagiarism in which an academic writing could fall in a category when an author intentionally or unintentionally resubmit entire or subsequent portion of his or her already published work in own previous writings and reclaimed it as new work without acknowledgement or permission. It also refers as recycling, multiple submission and duplication work. Paraphrasing plagiarism. Well, paraphrase is defined as rewriting paragraph or passage of a writings into own words or rearrangement of writing into a new framework without putting within quotes or attribution. Thus, when a writer replaces the word with synonymous words or phrases from original piece without phrasing the original sentence or do cosmic changes, it is considered as paraphrase plagiarism. Incorrect citation. Sometimes the researcher unknowingly provide inappropriate citation or furnish incorrect information about both in the text of the document or in the footnote of the reference list, and this may lead to a plagiarism. So it is really very important to check the citation which we are putting in our footnote or in our endnotes before submitting our research work. Metaphor plagiarism is another form when a writer reprint metaphor or analog from a source as their own without citing original. It is subject to plagiarism. Metaphors are an important part of an author's creative style. If you cannot come up with your own metaphor or illustrate an idea that use the metaphor in other source article but give the author credit for it. So it is really very important in all the cases whenever we are taking some information from another person's text, we should always give the credit or put the attribution or acknowledge the persons from where we are taking the information. Well, viewers, we have learned about what are the classification. Now we are learned how to avoid plagiarism. This is really one of the main question which comes in the mind of the viewers when they are listening or seeing this video. Well, viewers, it is really very easy to avoid plagiarism from the text of our writing. We have to follow certain steps which I am going to discuss with you. Vital element of successful research writing is planning and identifying various strategies of researching. The writer often faces number of challenges while presenting the already published idea and learning into successful piece of writings. While applying the facts and issues, the author needed to understand or underline the basic causes to remain protected for the catch of plagiarism. So some key points to avoid plagiarisms are attribution, citation, paraphrasing, avoid self-plagiarism, direct quote, reference sources, and use of anti-plagiarism software. There are a number of software available which we can use to avoid plagiarism. I will discuss in next slides. So attribution, crediting the original author is one of the prerequisites of research writings. Yes, acknowledgement to the copyright holder by citing the references reduces plagiarism. So it is really very important to attribute the original writer from where we have taken the idea or thoughts or the text. So citation is another form of avoiding plagiarism. One of the effective methods to avoid plagiarism is citing the source of information in the form of bibliographies available and references of books, journals, and electronic databases using appropriate style manual or guides. Yes, viewers, there are various style manuals or guides available which we can use according to the subject in which we are writing a paper and researching. So before writing a paper or while we are doing research, we should understand what is a citation and what type of manuals are available which help us to maintain the uniform citation. Paraphrasing, utmost care must be taken while paraphrasing. It is important to explain all the readings in their own words with proper citation format to the original contributor. Well, avoid verbatim or word-to-word copy of text, and if needed, then make proper use of quote, quotation mark, and proper attribution. Another format is avoid self-plagiarism. As we have already discussed what is a self-plagiarism. So it is also important to cite your own previous publishings if reused or included in the text of the work. Failure to acknowledge of your own published or unpublished work would constitute plagiarism, because there are different types of plagiarism software which will catch you, and if you have not given the attribution or you have not cited, they will show it as a plagiarism. Direct quote, when one of the effective way to avoid plagiarism whenever using the direct quote phrase, keywords from other one's text is quoting the source with quotation mark and cite the source in footnote or endnote of the text. Reference sources, well, inadvertent plagiarism could be avoided by tracking all the reference sources used in process of researching. Well, we have to be very careful, we have to be very planned while we are researching on any topic. Writer should be very careful to quote the exact references of the source from where the quotes or words have been referred, and maintain the bibliographies. Yes, it is really very important to maintain the bibliography or list of references at the end of the research paper. The last one is use of the anti-plagiarism software. Yes, the use of anti-plagiarism software tools to check the similarity index of the content of your paper. It is evident method to prove the originality of research paper or assignments. So viewers, we have learned about what is plagiarism, what are the consequences of how to avoid the plagiarism. Now we are going to discuss about what are the consequences. If we found guilt of plagiarism, what could happen to with us or our paper? Well, academic community has considered plagiarism as an act of academic misconduct and instrumented various policies, courts and committees to deal with the seriousness of the conduct. Any academic researchers, whether student or faculty, if found to engage in any sort of academic dishonesty, have to undergo serious consequences from grade reduction to suspension or dismissal, depend upon the extent of the occurrence of the plagiarism. So there are few consequences which we are going to discuss. Peter Charles Hofer, in his article Reflection on Plagiarism, states that educational institutions lead the way in investigating allegations of plagiarism. Also argues that other societies should also act in the cases of plagiarism. So it is must for all the researchers to understand the destroying characteristics of plagiarism allegations. These ethical offences not only barred one from the academic activity or community, but also destroy career and professional reputation. Well, University Grants Commission is also planning to enforce a uniform law to deal with the cases of plagiarism in higher education. They are coming up with some sort of compulsory regulations and rules which every university will follow. Well, in the absence of uniform legal regulations, many academic institutions has constituted their own policies and regulation for maintaining ethical standards and values in research and academic publications like theses, dissertations, essays and other coursework, and to control unrestrained domain practice of plagiarism with ranges of punishment. So what are those punishment which could be imposed on a plagiarizer? Warning to degradation, it could be deduction of marks, it could be permanent or temporary time bound restriction, failure to withdraw from the degree, verbal or could be written warning, disqualified to receive any kind of grant, suspension or expulsion from the services. These type of consequences, it depends upon the university and the institutions what they have framed and the committee which they constitute.